Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tampa Bay Politics. We're here. I'm Angela Birdsong. I am your co-host with Mary Geraci.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our show. We have a great guest and a personal friend on today.
Now, we got a big race going on in Tampa.
We do.
And it's for clerk of the court. And we have one of the premier candidates in the race, and that's Mr. Kevin Beckner.
Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Angela. Great to be here with you.
Okay. You know what? We always start with your unique story. What makes you you?
Well,
Where were you born?
I was raised in a little town called Michigan City, Indiana, which is about 60 miles east of Chicago, and was born and raised there. Went to Indiana University and grew up as a Hoosier. And my whole passion when I was growing up, I wanted to be one or two things. I either wanted to go into law enforcement or I wanted to go into business. So I've been a business owner nearly my whole entire life. While I was going through college, I had the privilege to be able to become a police officer, where I served in law enforcement for 3.5 years.
So you graduated with what major?
I majored in criminal justice and then also minored in business and psychology.
Okay, and then you went straight into law enforcement.
During my time in school, I was in law enforcement. So I was on the police force for 3.5 years. And so when I graduated from college, then I made a decision. Either I wanted to go into business or law enforcement. So I chose the business route.
Okay.
So while I was going through high school and growing up, I was actually in the music industry. So I had my own.
Really? I know a little bit about the music industry.
I bet you do.
My ex-husband was related to one of the Supremes.
Wow.
Yes, he was a recording artist, Grammy Award winner.
Absolutely.
What did you do in the music business?
I was actually in the mobile entertainment business. So I became, and we provided different type of music entertainment, mostly for weddings.
Okay.
And then I actually...
You were a DJ.
I was. And then when I discovered the great art of karaoke while I was in college, we added that to our business, and I became a mobile wedding singer.
Wow. He was a karaoke star.
Because you light up my life.
Oh, touching, Mary.
You do.
And then what happened after that?
So once I graduated, then we actually got in the mail order business, where we were distributing karaoke sound equipment and the alikes across the country. And we actually ran a national singing championship that went on for 5 years. So much like American Idol is today.
Okay.
People would go and they would perform at different karaoke bars. And then we would have local competitions, state competitions, and then the national competition was actually held at the Opryland Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. And so two of those.
Wow. That was big time.
In 2 of those years, in fact, is interesting because as much of the format that we had judges from the music industry that would judge, and the winner would actually get $10,000 and would get a recording contract.
Wow.
And so for 2 of those years, we had the pleasure of actually co-hosting the show with the late Dick Clark.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So the music business was something I was passionate about. So I did that in Chicago and then moved here in 1998. We moved the company into this area, and then it ended up getting bought out by a manufacturer. And once that happened, then I decided that since I had hired a financial advisor to help me with my business, that my financial advisor talked to me about career opportunities. So that's when I got into the financial planning business and became a certified financial planner, in which I had that business for over 18 years.
Okay. And I help people with Medicare. They call me the Medicare lady.
You know, especially in Florida, that's really important. It's an important part of the planning process.
Now, you somehow went from financial planner to politician.
I did. And that all happened, it started actually in 2005 when the as I was watching, I moved down here from Chicago and started paying attention to government, about what government was doing and not doing. And the Hillsborough County Commission at the time was focused on many issues that I did not think would bring our community together. And they weren't focused on core issues like transportation and things and planning and growth management. They were focused on closing down bikini bars. And at that particular time in 2005, people that's been around in the community for a while, especially the LGBT community, remembers that was the time that the county commission actually banned gay pride in Hillsborough County.
Rhonda Storms
was
at
that
the
woman named
helm.
Rhonda
Yeah,
Storms
Rhonda
on there?
Storms.
Oh my gosh, that woman
Who was a lawyer.
Yeah.
She was a lawyer?
Yeah, she is a lawyer.
Oh,
she actually still
okay.
has a law practice
So
in
she was
Brandon.
just a
No, she
really
just,
mean person.
she was not Anita What's-Her-Face from Miami.
Anita Bryant.
Yeah, Anita Bryant. She was no Anita Bryant. And yeah, she also got rid of public access, officially had our money removed, and it's pretty much non-existent, although it's there.
It was the part of the removing white chocolate from.
That's correct.
She was the what?
Removing white chocolate.
There was a after
White
hours.
chocolate.
Well, there was an after hours program that showed some nudity, and nudity is allowed after, and it has to have a disclaimer on public access. And she shut us down.
Oh, that's why she went after
for
public
being
access.
purveyors of porn.
Oh,
I was there when that
I
whole thing
see,
went down.
I
so,
see.
so. Yeah.
So when that happened, that really said, you know what? I said, that's not the purpose of government.
Okay.
And so I spoke with many other people, including former Mayor Bob Buckhorn, and then it was at the time County Commissioner Kathy Castor. And so they said, Kevin, you know what? If you want to make change, you have to have a seat at the table.
Okay.
And so that's what inspired me. We put together a small kitchen table. There was about 6 of us that started, and that began in 2007. And
Do you remember who was at that kitchen table?
there were Mark Nash was one of the leads.
Okay.
Jenny McCula was there. My spouse Gil Sains was there, and Mitch Cates, who's my campaign manager,
Okay.
was there. And those were our core people that we had that actually got everything started.
All right.
Kind of grew from there.
That's important.
It is.
People can know. You can start it right at the kitchen table.
It is. And then after that, we started in 2007 for a 2008 election. By the time we were done, we had over 400 volunteers that we had.
Wow, that's impressive.
Raised a lot of money and ended up unseating an incumbent.
Who did you unseat?
That was Brian Blair.
Brian Blair. I remember him. He used to go to my church.
The
Yeah.
Bumblebee.
He was a wrestler, right?
He was.
Originally, yes, he was Brian the Bumblebee, WWF, which was huge here and done at the Armory right there on Armenia. So I think I
Well,
actually,
you did a good thing getting rid of
I
him.
actually filmed him in action. I think one time.
Yeah.
Get the fly swatter, the bees at large.
So then you went into seat. What number seat?
That was considered District 6, but it was county-wide.
Okay.
So it was considered at-large, so we served all of Hillsborough.
Okay. And you served for how many terms?
From 2008, and then was reelected in 2012, and then finished in 2006.
Okay. And you did some pretty awesome things when you were there.
Yeah, when first I got elected, I had quite a comprehensive agenda. You know, first and foremost was making sure that all of our citizens were treated equally and fairly. So human rights was an important issue for me, and
Okay.
also I recognized how important our youth are to our community, and I realized that youth, all of our youth, don't have the same opportunities that perhaps you and I have had growing up, and so I wanted to make sure that our youth did not get caught up in the revolving door of the criminal justice system.
Amen.
So
Schools to prison system, yeah.
that's a big issue today.
It's huge here, yeah.
And so we formed the Juvenile Justice Task Force. I headed that up. And our focus was looking at tools that we could help keep kids out of the system. And so we focused on expanding the current civil citation program that was just a school-based program
Okay.
countywide.
So civil citation means they don't get a record, right?
That's correct. And that's the most important thing, Angela, is because once you have that arrest record, that can prevent you from getting a good job, going on to school, or serving your country in the military.
Yeah. You can't even live in public housing, right? If you have a felony record.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the housing.
It affects so many things. It's
Yeah,
just
it does.
really bad.
So that was really important, making sure that everybody had the equal opportunity. So we focused on our youth, and that was part of my plan as well. And then we tackled a lot of big issues, shutting down the pill mills that were causing a lot of deaths throughout our community.
Okay.
And insurance fraud, staged auto accidents. We created
my gosh.
ordinance to shut. That was a $3 billion scam that they were taking advantage of insurance companies and obviously impacting people's
Rates.
insurance rates.
Yes.
and then our seniors. So our seniors, we set in forth we lowered their providing an additional exemption so that they could have a reduction in their property tax. So there's a whole host of issues that I did while I was on the commission. I'm really proud that we were able to get done. And, there's a lot still more work that we have to do.
Did you have anything to do with the Board of County Commission Diversity Advisory Council?
Yes. Yeah, we started that. I took up that initiative as well to make sure that all of our citizens were represented in government. So it was the first council that was put together that had just about every group that were represented in the community, including the LGBT community, the Muslim community, groups that were typically left out.
Marginalized, yeah.
That were marginalized. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to say I hold one of those seats.
I know.
The Caribbean seat. Because my family immigrated here from the Caribbean.
And you've been on there for a little while. Yeah?
Yes, well, a little over a year.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately we've been affected by COVID too. It's not so easy to meet, you
Right.
know, but we did a couple of Zooms. Yeah, but I'm enjoying my time on there. Yeah, and it's a wonderful thing when everybody has a seat at the table.
Well, that's the most important thing, because when you look what's going on into our society today, a lot of times it's because people don't have the opportunity to interact with one another.
Yes.
And so you can tear down barriers in the wall and the walls that have caused a lot of these core issues when people can come together and talk about the issues and let people get to know one another and another culture or another part of the community.
That's critical now, and I think more so than ever, due to the Black Lives Matter protesting and lots of protesting going on for the Marjorie, the folks killed at Pulse, on and on and on and on. And I think that's been big in our community. A lot of things have been going on. People are taking the police force to task. You were a police officer. You've got big issues with the COVID coming in. I mean, can you give us a list of things you're planning on approaching?
Well, first of all, what are you running for?
Oh, okay.
So now,
We find out how to segue into that because it's a lot
Aren't you
of
running for
stuff.
something?
I am. So I'm picking up and getting back into the public sector arena again.
Yeah.
And utilizing my talents and my private and my public sector experience to run for clerk of the circuit court. And so that's probably one of the most important jobs, and probably a job that a lot of people aren't necessarily that familiar with.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, what does the clerk do? Because you all do a lot down there.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, your clerk is the chief financial officer or the CFO of the county. So they're the ones that manage all the cash flow that comes in throughout the county. They are responsible for providing the checks and balances to make sure the money is secure. And any monies that are left over that we need to invest in reserves, they're responsible for coming up with the investment plan for that money. So that's the chief job. The second part is they are the record keeper for all the records in the county. So whether you get married, whether you bought a piece of real estate, any type of a record or all the records that are involved with like the Board of County Commissioners, they maintain all those records. They keep all of those records. So they're responsible for making sure that those records are available to the appropriate people, and that there's transparency, and that they're available securely when requested for. So those are the chief jobs. Now they're also responsible for the maintenance and the smooth running of our justice system. So for all the courts proceedings, they're responsible making sure that everything is in place and running smoothly. And they're also responsible for the jury putting together the jury pool. So they're responsible if you get one of those subpoenas in the mail that tell you need to report for jury duty, that's coming from your clerk's office.
And you were speaking about this earlier, about some of the ideas you have for implementing that, changing it, diversifying it. Like I was trying to say earlier, when I jumped the gun, is diversity is huge right now. People in this community are really working hard on trying to get everyone included in movements and support. So you had a novel idea of how to approach that.
Yeah, in jury selection, many times we have found that people have difficult times reporting for jury duty. And so sometimes there's barriers of why people don't participate, even though they're legally obligated to do so. So Hillsborough County has historically had what they called one of the lowest jury yield rates. That means that our system on how we put together our selection pool is probably one of the more inefficient systems that are in the state of Florida. And so one of my focuses is to make sure that we have an efficient jury pool selection process, and that also that we can increase the diversity of the jury pools. And so how do you do that? You make sure that more people have access and are able to participate. One of the larger issues that we face here, and everybody knows it's been an ongoing issue for a while, is transportation. So especially people that are in underserved neighborhoods, a lot of times people don't have the means to get to the courthouse or where they need to go. So Orlando, what they have done is they have partnered with the Public Transportation Agency, and they provide vouchers to jury people that are selected to participate in the jury pool. So that's one option. The other option is being able to use technology to help speed up the check-in process as well too. So that way people can spend less time when they do report for jury selection, the jury selection process. They can spend less time at the courthouse. So there's different ways that we're going to look at and model after different other jurisdictions to make things more efficient and again increase the diversification of the jury pool.
Now, when you say the system is not efficient, are you saying people aren't showing up? What do you mean by inefficient?
The cost to attract people and to get people and through the whole entire selection process, it is not as efficient as it could be. Okay. So we're spending a lot more money, time, and energy and human resources in trying to track people. And sometimes it's really making some simple things and partnerships like with the transportation agency to help people get to the jury pool that can actually increase the efficiency of the overall system.
So for folks who don't know, how do you get selected for jury pool? Where is your name drawn from?
They're just completely random?
It's coming from the driver's license.
So if you don't have a driver's license, let's say you don't have an automobile.
ID cards as well, too.
And you don't have one of those.
Well, most people do have the ID, because my mom is 94 and she has it.
I'm just saying, I think there may be folks who don't have either. And especially when we go to voter registration and we're going door to door, you have to ask for some kind of ID. I've met people who don't have any ID at all. I have. Not that it's a huge issue, but so driver's license mainly. That's the pull.
Yep. But, overall, when we look at justice in our community today and all the issues that we're going through, we want to make sure that people have equal access to the justice system.
Amen.
and that income is not a barrier. And that's what's been part of the problem, Mary and Angela, is that not everybody has the means when they get involved or they need to work with the justice system.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that everybody has equal access. So how do we do that? We're going to expand outreach and services into minority and underserved neighborhoods to make sure that there's a presence there. Through partnerships with our libraries, the tax collector's office, and other government entities, we're going to partner in utilizing real estate resources and have standalone kiosks and other opportunities where people can utilize and access our systems there.
That is major, because getting downtown Tampa is a pain if you're coming from the county.
Yeah. It's like 5 different buses. I went from USF to Brandon one time, and it took me like 4 hours. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that would be a huge accomplishment if you can do that.
Tell me about the kiosk. I like that idea. You were talking about people who go to civil trials. Can you expound on that?
Well, there'll be certain functions that you would be able to do at the kiosk, and that's what we're going to use some of the best practices that other jurisdictions use on the different types of services that would be available. And so being able to file, for instance, paperwork, there's a lot of indigent individuals and people that can't afford attorneys. They're called pro se clients. So those are people that if they can't afford attorneys or they choose to represent themselves, then they're left on their own accord to navigate the system. And so what we want to do is simplify how you do and manage those processes. Right now, a larger portion of those services are paper-based. So that increases more inefficiencies in our system. And so what we want to do, again, through libraries and partnerships, have tools available where people are able to help navigate through the system using online services. And so imagine if you would, do either one of you use TurboTax to file your income taxes?
I don't. I use my CPA.
Yeah, I don't either, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with it.
So if you use TurboTax, then you know that TurboTax, they have step-by-step instructions, videos, and they actually ask you questions, and then you just supply the information, and they guide you through that process.
Nice.
So
That's a nice approach.
Yeah, so we want to make sure it's as simple and as easy as
Plain.
filing your income taxes with TurboTax, using
That would be
our
wonderful.
justice system.
Yeah.
Because you know what? We all come in contact with the clerk of court.
Yep.
We do.
Paying something, sending something in, showing up.
Well, a lot of people don't realize, that at some point in life we are responsible for over 1,000 different functions.
Wow.
That's dictated by state and local government, and so we're responsible for carrying that out. So whether it's getting your marriage license, whether you have to go to court, if you get a traffic ticket, you'll touch us.
Been there.
Red light tickets.
Yeah, I've been there, unfortunately.
If you buy a piece of real estate, so at some point in time, the odds are your life is going to be touched by the clerk of the circuit court.
So how do you do it? 1,000 different venues, 1,000 different things that your department's going to be dealing with? How do you approach that?
Well, the key is we have a lot of great people. We have a staff of a little less than 700.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I was going to ask you how many people work down
Yeah.
there.
Got to be quite a few.
about 700, and I tell you, those are really, truly dedicated employees. Many of them I got to know as county commissioner.
Okay.
And they've been, you have people working there 20, 25 years. They dedicated their lives to serving the county, and
Yep.
so they're extraordinary people. So those people are the heartbeat of the organization, and those are the people that help get things done. And so it's the employees that are really, the star of the organization, and that's also part to make sure that all of our employees have equal opportunities throughout the organization. And so that
Would you say it's diverse?
I would say if you look at perhaps the lower ranked levels, there's probably more diversity. But my concern is that there's diversity not only in the rank and file, but also through management.
Yes.
My belief and philosophy is that your organization should reflect the diversity in our community. And one thing also, a lot of people don't realize that the Arab and Muslim population, we have a good amount of those individuals in our county.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that they're also reflective inside
Absolutely.
the organization.
It's a growing community. Temple
is.
Terrace, North Tampa, Plant City. We had a guest on the other day saying there's a larger Muslim community even in Plant City. So, yeah, representation is important.
Yeah, and diversity in government. In fact, I served as the executive director of the Civil Service Board from 2017 to 2019 before it was closed by the legislature. And since 1951, that organization was responsible for the hiring and the firing and the disciplinary processes throughout government. It was because of the Civil Service Board, especially in the time of segregation when we were going through the Civil Rights Movement, that many minorities had an opportunity to get a job in government because there were specific rules and regulations. And now
It was very strict.
yeah, there was, and that's how, if you looked at the face of government, especially in the early 70s, going into the 80s, that's how we became really well known, as a true equal opportunity employer. And now that the Civil Service Board is there, that protection is gone. And so I want to make sure that, at least for the employees of the clerk's office, that those protections are reinstituted, and that everybody in my organization.
Let's talk about why it's gone. It sounds like Tallahassee.
Well. Tallahassee ultimately did the deed, but it was actually started in 2014 by some of the constitutional officers that wanted to have full control of the hiring and firing process. And actually, it goes back even further than that. In 2000, there was a large statewide effort in the Jeb Bush administration to get rid of all the civil service divisions throughout the state of Florida.
Oh, my gosh.
And so then it came to Hillsborough County in 2014. And so they wanted to total control the hiring and the firing process. It was never about money. It was never about anything else other than they did not want anybody to tell them who they could hire and fire. And in fact, if you were to listen to the legislative delegation meeting that ultimately sent and created the bill that went to Tallahassee on January 29th of 2019, One of the constitutional officers said that this all started back to 2015 and that nobody was going to tell them who they could hire and fire in their organization.
Because they like a little thing called nepotism.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the Civil Service Board was created to help root out that in government.
Yeah, I had several civil service jobs when I was growing up. My dad was in the Army. And
you know, the thing is,
and
these are the
jobs.
kind of
They were great
jobs that really help build up communities.
That's right.
Yeah. And they're
That's
good
right.
jobs, and they pay well, and you're treated equitably. And
If you hear
fairly.
about Michelle Obama's story, how her father had a civil service job and how that kept the family together.
Absolutely.
I mean, for them to take away those jobs out of our communities, those are the things that keep systematic racism alive.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was director, the number of calls that I received personally about people complaining about the cronyism that have crept back into the hiring practice, and most of these individuals that called me were either women or they were minorities.
Yes. I mean, affirmative action is really the only way. People aren't going to do it out of the goodness of their heart. They're going to hire their cousin.
Well, and that's what we did in the Civil Service Board. We made sure that there were processes in place, and if you got terminated or disciplined and did not agree with it, then you had an independent board to provide.
To go on.
You had independent oversight. There is no more independent oversight in government. What they replaced the board with is now a paid arbiter who is paid by the county, and what they then. So imagine that your employer who is disciplining you now has the authority and now is contracted with a quote independent arbiter to listen to your hearing, but yet it is shown research after time, especially in the private sector, that in mandatory binding arbitration and paid arbiters lead more decisions to rule in the favor of the employer and not the employer.
Yeah, their boss.
And you know, once these boards are gone, it's going to be like hell to get it back.
Yeah, through that.
All I can say is vote blue.
So, do you really feel that you're going to be able to accomplish all this? And how are you going to be able to accomplish this and bringing this into the 21st century? It all sounds fantastic.
Well, it's all about time. And, you know, if you look back at the time of my time on the Board of County Commissioners, I was successful in getting nearly all of my agenda accomplished by rolling up my sleeves and going to work every single day. And it's the people that I surrounded myself with, the leadership there. We rolled up our sleeves every single day and worked hard for the community. And that's how we're going to get this done. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 1 or 2 years. I have a 10-year plan that I have laid out and the objectives that we want to achieve, and a lot more.
Well, you know what? We're about to go to break, but you want to tell the people how they can get hold of you real quick?
They can visit my website at www.kevinbeckner.com. That's kevinbeckner.com. You can read a lot more about me, about the initiatives, my priorities for the clerk's office, and also happy to answer any personal questions that come my way from that site.
That being said, let me tell you, you can talk to Kevin right here on the show at 813-444-9588, 813-444-9588. Give us a call. You could talk to the man himself right here.
Very good.
There's your audience. We have them shipped in.
Go. Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you? What?
Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't? Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No. Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this. To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. Cool. Very cool. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies. Like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other
and had
in
no
no time.
idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
was the
fine.
most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm
Don't
and keep
ignore
to the
this
plan.
message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
I know that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Now, you know what? I understand that you got the Tampa Bay Times endorsement, and your opponent, Miss Cindy Stewart, did not. Why do you think that happened?
That's actually the opposite.
I thought
We got
that
the
you
Florida
got.
Sentinel.
Oh, you got the
We got the Florida
Sentinel.
Sentinel,
Oh, I
yes.
thought you got the Times.
No, we got the Florida Sentinel. We're very, very proud of the Florida Sentinel endorsement, and we've done a lot of work with inside the African American community over time, especially dealing with our juvenile justice issues. And I've been a big supporter of our minority-based business incentives through government. So a lot of work we've done. I'm very, very proud of that, and I think that's why we captured the Florida Sentinels endorsement.
I like your innovative ideas. I like the fact you're bringing us into the 21st century. Pat Frank did an awesome job with where she's at, and now you're projecting into the future. Is Tampa the kind of town that's going to back you up on this? Are you going to get the funding? Are you going to get the staff? Are you going to get the kind of support you think Tampa Bay's going to give you?
We've got a great base support right now, especially with inside the clerk's office.
Right.
The people are there to get it done. There are going to be challenges that we're going to be facing, especially on funding. A larger portion of our office is funded on traffic tickets. And so as we know from COVID-19, a lot less people are driving. And so those revenues are probably going to be significantly down. That's why partnerships, as I mentioned before, is extraordinarily important. And so my candidacy is being supported by Senator Darrell Roussan. We've already begun discussions on the way we can work with the legislature across the aisle to help fix the funding issue that faces the clerk's office.
What other ways can you get money
That's what
besides
I was
giving
just gonna
people
ask.
traffic tickets?
Yeah.
Well, again, going back to partnerships with the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners is responsible for funding the court's technology. So when we look at improving technologies inside the court system, I really look at the opportunities to partner with the board. And being a former county commissioner and having those relationships already, as well as with the county administration, I think is really helpful. And so it's those types of partnerships coming together, showing the value that we return to taxpayers. That's how we're going to be able to get a lot of our initiatives that require money done.
And I think you're smart because you're trying to draw on the library, things that already exist, and creative partnership. How's that been working for you? Library's been like on top of it. Everybody's eager to go with your experience and conversations.
Well, when I was a county commissioner, that's how I got a lot of my initiatives done, whether it's the Juvenile Justice Task Force that we talked about.
Right.
I had an initiative that helped the residents of Sun City Center get a golf cart path created. That was done through an across the aisle initiative that also included citizens that completed 4,000 petitions that I then took up to Tallahassee. And so I worked with then Speaker Weatherford and Representative Glorioso. We partnered with the Department of Transportation. We were able to get the appropriate approval to build that golf cart path down in Sun City Center, which is so important for the seniors to be able to get to Walmart. And the project that they originally wanted to set aside to get that done was going to be $5 million. I was able to, through our partnerships, get it done with a county for $250,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So you're taking your financial expertise and your ability to bring people together. It sounds like you have like kind of a magnetic kind of personality that helps people get together to help other people.
And that's why I love public service, because for me, I could have stayed in the private sector, but this is about how I can give back to our community. And so that's what interested me so much about the clerk's office, because of my financial background as a certified financial planner. What I've done already in county government, that's why I think that this job is the perfect fit to me. And so, as a county commissioner, that my financial acumen was also really important, because I not only saved taxpayer money. In fact, in the first meeting, I discovered an illegal transfer by the former supervisor of elections for $2 million that was going on the consent agenda, and I pulled that. And so through that process, we were able to save taxpayers $2 million.
Yeah, and that's critical right now. Money with the COVID hitting everybody, businesses going out. Like you said, we're not getting the sources of income into your department.
Yes.
It's critical to be saving our government money. I think that voters want to hear that.
Yeah.
Now, Pat Frank, how long has she been there?
Ms. Frank's been there since 2006, so 14 years now.
Yeah.
And she's a lovely 88 years old, I think.
Yeah,
now?
and she's done an amazing
just
job.
turned 90.
Just turned 90.
I actually
Wow.
sent her a thank you letter with my experience. I was actually on a juried court for 3 days. Horrible trial. I mean, it was ridiculous. They settled out of court, but her staff was amazing. I mean, from top notch. Never ran into anybody who was rude. Everybody was nice.
Show up for jury duty.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. You could help someone.
So it's functional. It's working well, but it just sounds like you're just making it better and better and better with some of these initiatives.
Now, this is not your first run at this office, is it?
We ran in 2016, correct.
Okay. And you ran against Pat Frank.
Pat Frank.
I did. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I know that there was a primary with that, right?
There was. Uh-huh.
Okay, so you won the primary, right?
No, I did not win the primary.
Oh, you didn't win the primary.
Right.
Okay, and now this time you're in a primary with Cindy Stewart.
Yes, and it's a really unique because no other Republican or independent or write-in qualified. So we are what they call a universal primary. So there's two Democrats. So
you're already there.
So what that means is that this election is open to all Republicans, Democrats, Independent. It doesn't matter. This is like our general election, although they call it a universal primary. And so we will not be on the ballot in November. So on August the 18th, the election will be the final election day. And so that is the day that the winner will be determined.
Okay, so folks, it's really important that number one, you vote by mail, and number two, if you once you have your ballot, either get it to the poll or mail it in, and that's coming up fast. Yeah, August 18th,
right around the corner.
The ballots are out now, so you can go to votehillsboro.org. You can also the early voting is going to start on August the 3rd, and so there'll be I think there's 24 service centers across the county where you can go and you can vote, or if you choose to, Election Day, Tuesday, August 18th is D-Day.
And so people are voting right now.
They are. In fact, the last time we looked, I think there were about 54,000 ballots that have already been casted.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic.
Do you know how those votes are going? Can you tell yet?
No, that is an absolute secure secret.
Okay.
Good try, Angela.
Just wondering.
Not going to happen.
That's a common asked question, so nobody knows, not even the supervisor. All those things are kept locked and secured and not released until after 7 p.m. on election.
So I'm going to jump the gun a little bit again. I know this is specific to this race, but you're a young guy. You have some bright ideas. You're making things cohesive. I think this is the kind of government people have been wanting for a long time, non-combative, bringing people together, diverse sources, lifting people up, building mechanisms to move forward. Do you see yourself going further with politics? Possible other arenas?
I mean, I'm really focused on the clerk's job. Everybody asked me that question. They asked me that when I was a county commissioner. In fact, there was even rumors that I was running for governor at some point in time. So the direct answer to that.
Wish you had, but anyway.
So the direct answer is, I'm really focused on what I'm doing now.
Just and so for now,
my approach to public service is about continuing to give back to the community. So when I get done doing everything that I wanted to do with the clerk's office and I feel like my job is done, then we'll look at perhaps other opportunities and decide where I'm at in life. A lot of people wanted me to run for the county commission again. And I said, no, that's not where I'm at in my life. I did everything I wanted to do on the county commission.
Yep.
I'm not about just going into office for a paycheck or to be a placeholder. I want to make sure that I can utilize my talents to give and make this community a better place. And when my job is done doing that at an office, then I'll look perhaps at somewhere else, again, depending upon where I'm at in my life at the time.
So,
is there term limits on this?
No, there's not.
No, not on this one.
Okay, so how long is the term?
4 years.
Okay, so you
run
can
every
stay
4.
there every 4 years. You can run again.
Yep.
You can stay there as long as you win.
Potentially.
And speaking about the county commission, what was the most important thing? Name one. The most important thing you learned by sitting on that commission. That you're bringing into this job.
It's really how to work with people across the aisle that have different points of view.
So how do you do that?
It's coming to the table, and it's really setting aside. If you look at our society and community today, it's really unfortunate how partisan we have become.
Absolutely.
And in fact,
totally divisive.
There's a lot of people that if you don't wear the same party label that they do, they don't even want to talk to you. And that's truly really unfortunate, because that's why that really impedes the progress. What we have to focus on is, what is the goal that we want to accomplish? What is it that we can work on together? Understanding that we can have differences and it's okay. But when we do have differences, we need to make sure that we're civil in how we treat one another, and that we treat everybody with dignity and respect. And that's what's always been my approach. I don't care what party label that you wear. If we share the same values and we want to achieve the same goals, let's work together to make those things happen. And that's what's fallen apart so much in government today and getting things done, is everything has been so hyper-partisan that it seems like many people can't even come to the table. There's a time in the 1980s where always Democrats, Republicans fought like dogs. In Washington, though, you had Tip O'Neill, and that was the speaker, would come together with Ronald Reagan, and they would sit down to create the grand deal that was in the best interest of the country. And now that doesn't happen anymore. And that's what I love about government, because local government is because 95% of the things that we deal with are truly nonpartisan. And so it just takes the mindset and the right leader to say, you know what, I don't care what party label you wear. Let's come to the table, put down our political swords and shields, and let's just get to work, roll up our sleeves, and get things done. And that's what I've always been about.
Well, I hate to say it, I'm a little bit cynical. Right now, I just want to flip 14 seats in Tallahassee. Because those guys up there have a majority, and they are just cutting the heck out of all kind of social services programs. And I think we just have to empower the people to say, you know what, before you vote, first of all, consider voting by mail so you know who you're voting for. Review your ballot, and listen to a good show like ours so you can get to know who is running.
Yeah, this is the most personal it gets for a
whole
hour.
And vote down ticket, and vote blue.
Explain what vote down ticket means to those who don't know. We have a diverse audience.
Okay, so the thing is, jobs like what Kevin Beckner are running for affect your life.
Yeah.
Okay, your county commission affects you, your clerk of court, your tax collector. Don't ignore those races.
Yeah.
Because those are the people who are going to affect your daily living.
Like you said, how many thousands of different things that we do every day are directly in effect with what you're going to be dealing with.
And that's the thing. A lot of times people are looking what's happening in Washington, what's going on in Tallahassee, and those are the elections that people tend to come out to vote for, and they don't always pay attention to what's going on in local government. And as I tell people, what's happening in Washington and Tallahassee may get the most attention and get the most news coverage. But the decisions that your school board are making, your county commissioners, your city council, even offices like the constitutional offices, those have the greatest impact on your daily lives.
Absolutely. We think of the school board right now. The school board has a major effect on everybody's life right now.
Well, they're making major decisions about how
life
education.
And death situations, technically.
Yeah,
that bad.
So that's why it's so important that people have to pay attention to local politics and do their homework, get engaged, do their research, and most importantly, make sure that you get out and you vote.
And bring somebody with you.
And bring a friend as well, too.
Vote often. No, just joking.
That's only in Chicago.
I'm Italian. I have friends.
Oh, okay. The familia, right?
La familia. You're not using that ballot? I got a friend here. You can send it to me. So that being said, what do you think about the current commission? What do you think about the current mayor as far as people who could potentially help forward your agenda? Do you like what you're seeing?
Oh, I think we've got, there's going to be some new county commission faces, and we're going to have some competitive races there. I think we've got some great candidates. So that's why it's really important, again, people do your homework and make sure you look at who's running to represent you.
District 3, District 1, we got some big races.
Yeah.
Well, District 3 is going to be probably the most competitive and most watched race simply because of the number of candidates. And then also the potential that there may not be an African-American representative on that seat if the elections is decided split, with all the African-American candidates there. That's going to be really interesting to see if that happens. And it is a serious concern because, as I mentioned before, it's so important to make sure that we have representation at the table. And so that's going to be a hotly and probably greatly watched race.
Yeah, because we don't have any women on the city council. Is that correct?
Right now, I think,
we have none.
We have none.
That's what I'm saying. That's not very diverse.
That's been the first time, has it been 20, 30 years, something like that,
Easily.
when that hasn't?
Easily.
We haven't had a female representation.
So Yoli Kapeen was our last one, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yoli. And, we're looking forward to Nancy Milan being our first Latinx female. And
at the tax collector.
At the tax collector's office. So, I feel hopeful. I'm seeing some movement ahead, and the 3 is going to be a nail biter.
That Pat Kep race, they're trying to take her out.
Yeah.
The developers are trying to take her out
because you know who she is. She's honest. She's one of the best commissioners I've ever had the honor of knowing.
Well, she succeeded me, and there's a big target on her back right now because of the very difficult decisions that she has had to make, along with the other county commissioners about making sure that we have the right balance and that growth pays for itself and that
impact fees,
and so she's there's a big target.
But those who don't know what impact fees are, we need money out of these developers to build schools, to big roads.
Yeah.
They just want to build and go.
Yeah, they build houses and scoot, and the next thing, the traffic's backed up. There's not enough police. There's not enough schools, and we're left footing the bill as taxpayers.
Well, and one of the things that I found even when I was on the county commission, and this goes back to 2009, 10, 11, in that era, is that there was the expectation of all this growth that was occurring. And so the county, before there were policies put in place, would front all of the infrastructure for these developers. Well, we all know what happened in 2009 is one of the greatest economic downturns that we've ever experienced.
Yes.
And so the county was on the hook for all that money. We paid out all the money. And guess what? That development never happened. And who was left footing the bill but the county and the taxpayers?
Wow. So they get you coming and going. That's a hard job.
Wow, I didn't even know about that.
2008 was the decline. The housing bubble exploded. Remember?
It started in the fall of 2008, and then 2009 was the first.
Yeah.
On the county commission, we had to make difficult decisions and cut our budget by nearly $1 billion or 25%. And so if you want to talk about the difficult decisions we had to make, that's why it was so important to me that, government has to be able to live within its means, but we have to be able to provide the goods and services that our community needs. And that's why I was so tenacious on the county commission to make sure that we were able to live within our means and that the things that we were allocated, we were not going to have and create a large amount of an unfunded mandate by having to continue, to expand human resources inappropriately, where when we go through the next economic downturn that we would have to do massive cuts.
Yeah.
And so that's a difficult job that you have when you're sitting in that position. And, there are some other government entities. I don't think that they use their reserves. We never had to dip in our reserves on the county commission because we were very fiscally focused in making sure we lived within our means and we kept our bond rating at a AAA bond rating so that we could have great credit when we needed to invest in capital projects like transportation, which still is woefully underfunded, and other things that our community needs.
Now, that Board of County Commission, you want to go into some of the things that they cover? Everything from Head Start. They have a police force.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'd be here all day.
We'd be here all day.
Yeah, that's a huge job. But at the same time, I want to bounce back to what you were talking about. What is the number one thing, looking at the department, that you feel needs to happen right away? What would be the most?
What's your 100-day agenda?
Yeah, what would be the most important issue that you would start with?
Well, the first and foremost, it's continuity of operations. Anytime that you go through a leadership change, it's natural that you're going to have some attrition in your human resources. So that's my number one concern, is to make sure that the lights stay on and that the human resources are in place. Again, I mentioned earlier on about the high tenure, employees 20, 30 years that have been
Fantastic.
voted. It's great.
Is that good or not?
Well, the thing is, what I don't know going in, how many people are in the Florida retirement system, or what they call the FRS drop system, that are going to be leaving because of natural retirement.
Right.
How many people are going to look at the change of leadership and say, this is my time, a perfect time for me to exit? We don't know that. And so I'm concerned about brain drain and losing people that have high tenure and know all the things.
Ins and outs. Yeah,
the
that
ins and
have
outs.
the whole thing together.
And so, again, first and foremost is the continuity of operations, and then it's really getting a really whole understanding about and knowing your employees. I'm very much a hands-on leader where I want to get to know the employees. I want them to get to know me, and building that trust within the employees, because in government, I have found particularly there's a high barrier of mistrust in employees, and some of that is justly so because of how employees have been treated by some leaders in the past.
Yeah.
And so making sure that employees know that I am there and that they realize that they are the most important assets to our organization is important to me. And so making sure we have talent in the right places to carry on the core functions of the clerk's office is going to be my number one priority. And that's going to take some time to figure out. And then making sure that the leaders that are in place, that their talents are appropriately matched where they're at. So again, making sure people have the opportunity for promotions, as well as being able to go and utilize their talents in other places that they think that they may be more productive. We're going to look at all of those.
So you think there's some hiring going to go on down there?
I have been told from the inside that there is a lot of people leaving. What that means, I do not know.
Yeah.
But I believe there's going to be a lot of employment opportunities, perhaps.
Which is what we need right now. Good paying opportunities, diverse opportunities for marginalized people. Get folks into the mix. Good jobs, good paying jobs.
And I want to grow an employee culture where people feel valued, where there's engagement inside the employee, and it's a healthy place to go to work. And when somebody say, how do you know when you create? How will you know when you created that? When there is a waiting list for people going out the door that want to get inside to work for the clerk's office, then I know that we have a superior place to work. And so the work focusing on engagement and a healthy work environment is one of my top priorities.
Well, you know what? We're about to wrap it up already.
Hard to believe.
So tell them again how they can get in touch with Kevin Beckner, what you need. You need some volunteers, what you need.
You got any fundraisers coming up?
Need some money?
Let us know. Yeah.
Well, you can visit my website, kevinbeckner.com. That's www.kevinbeckner.com. There's all the information that you can have about my campaign. Most importantly, do realize that voting is going on now. So that's the number one thing that you can do to contribute to help bring a new leadership into the clerk's office is to go out and vote.
There will be no November election for you.
There is no November election.
Are you hearing that, people?
Doesn't matter, Democrat,
if
Republican,
Independent. If you have a mail-in ballot
matter.
in your house, his name is on it.
That's it. End of story. Good.
Kevin Beckner, early voting's August 3rd through the 16th. Election day is August the 18th, so please go out and vote.
Okay. And phone number? Can they call your office?
How do they get hold of Kevin?
Yeah. They can, through my website.
Your website has a phone number on there.
It has everything there.
KevinBeckner.com?
You got it.
Wow. Okay, then.
How'd you know?
You need some volunteers?
We always need great volunteers.
Good. Any fundraisers coming up that you can recall to pop out here right now?
Are you Zooming?
They can. Everything's going via Zoom right now, so pretty much directly, if they want to contribute, they can do that through my website.
Okay,
as well,
so they can do that as well.
Yes, ma'am.
That's one. Did you do any of those Zoom fundraisers?
We did one in May, and it was a Cinco de Mayo event. It was a lot of fun. So, and we've done two now.
How did I miss that? I'm Mexican.
Julie Jenkins did with 101 powerful women.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was invited. Yeah. Well, that was very exciting.
Were you one of the powerful women?
I was one of the powerful women.
And I was the other one.
Oh, yeah, she was on there too.
Give me a break.
Well, that's the end
Yeah, what a great
of
show.
another
Thank you.
Tampa Bay Politics.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Angela. It's a pleasure being on your show.
This was a powerful interview.
Yeah.
You got to get it out there. Share with your friends, please.
Yep. Don't forget. Vote early.
Thank you, Anna. She's our female engineer we got here.
Lady show.
Lady in the house.
Yeah. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.